Hi there, it's Rachel Greig, and in today's video I'd like to share with you our 4 new collage stamps along with the matching stencils. So these collage stamps and stencils are a part of our Arty range, which include a series of shapes that have collage elements inside of them, so different textures and images inside each of the shapes. So the collage stamps that we've had before in the Arty series was Arty circles and Arty hexagons and Arty triangles and Arty mosaic, and now we have 4 new ones in this series called Arty scales, Arty squares, Arty pods and Arty hearts. So the stamps and the stencils can be used together, and I'll show you a little demo on how that can be achieved, but they can also be used separately, so you don't always have to have, or you don't always have to use the stamps and the stencils together. So it just depends on what you need for your project. It just makes it more versatile that you can use them together. It gives you an easy way to color up these stamps as well, and but you can create some really nice effects here just with the stencils on their own and also with the stamps on their own. So I'll just pack these away and then I'll show you how you can stamp them up and use them all together. So I've got here, this is the Arty Hearts rubber stamp on a acrylic stamping block, and I'm just going to stamp it up here using some Archival jet black ink. And the good thing about using the jet black ink, it's a permanent waterproof ink, so when I do some ink sponging over the top, it won't alter the stamping in any way. It'll just stay permanently there on the cardstock. So I'm just inking this up. You want to press really nicely and firmly onto the stamp to make sure that you have ink on all of those little hearts. Okay, now I'll just grab a piece of white card. And then pressing down, and then because it's quite a large stamp, you just want to press firmly over the whole stamp just to make sure that ink connects with that paper. Okay, then lifting off, and there you can see our stamped hearts. So now what we want is the matching stencil. So I've got all of the little stencils here, and we just want to use the hearts one. I'll just place that there for now. We just need an ink blending tool, and then we also need some distress ink. So because it's hearts, I'll go with the reds and pinks. I'll get out some worn lipstick, some Victorian velvet, and just for a little bit of contrast, we might add in a little bit of scattered straw. Okay, so what I want to do now is just add a little bit of washi tape on this base stamped piece just to keep it in place on my craft mat, and then we're going to place the heart stencil over the top, so the heart stencil matches up with the stamp, so that means it'll mask off any of that white background outside of the hearts, and you just have to maneuver the heart stencil around there till you have it matched up. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of washi tape to keep the stencil in place, so it'll just stay there when I'm doing some sponging. So I'll just add some washi there, and some washi on this side. And I'll just make sure that that little heart stencil is in place, which it is. Okay, so what I'm using here is an ink blending tool. It has a little Velcro piece on the bottom, and then inside my little Distress mini inks on the back here, I've got the matching foam for that colour, and I keep the foams with the inks inside the storage tins, so it means that I have one foam per colour, and it just makes it easy for storage and for reusing those foams again and again. So what I'm doing now is I'm just lightly sponging over the stencil, and the good thing about the stencil substrate is it's a nice smooth surface, so it's almost like a blending mat, like a non-stick craft sheet. So it just makes the ink blending tool just run over that stencil nice and smoothly. So I'm just going to add that little ink there. I'm just going to change some colours, so then we've got a bit of blending of the colour going on. I'll use a bit of the scattered straw here this time. And I'll just go down the base here. So you just want to keep tapping your ink blending tool into the ink pad just to make sure that you're re-inking this foam up so you've got a nice coverage of ink there. So again, just tapping into that ink and then sponging it over your stamped piece, and you can see those colours are blending really nicely together, especially on these hearts here where it all graduates together. Okay, so that's good for me. Let's put this back here. I can go back in that spot, and then now we'll lift off our stencil, and then you can see there those hearts have all been inked up. I'll just move that a bit there inside those little hearts. So that just makes a nice little quick, easy way to ink up those hearts. You could do, instead of using distress ink, you could colour it up with watercolours or any other kind of colouring medium to then just colour in those little hearts. So I've got the other stencils here. I've pre-stamped some of these other ones, so I'll just run through and sponge these ones up quickly just to show you how they can look as well. I'll just reuse some of this washi tape. Okay, so this one here, this one's the Arty scales. So you just want to match this one up just on the inside line of all these little scales. So these scales, they've got the perfect pattern, and then they've also got the little sketchy outline as well. So it gives you a little bit of wiggle room for matching up these two pieces together, which is nice. Okay, so I've got those there. We'll just remove those inks because I'm going to go now with some seaside colours. So we'll go with a few blues. Okay, let's go with broken china and a bit of, we'll go with shaded lilac. Beautiful colours. Okay, so tapping that onto the ink pad and then just sponging over the top here. And even though I'm using blues and purples, kind of like a seaside theme for the scales, I mean, the imagery that's inside these is not necessarily seaside themed. So of course any colours would work with these. I'm just changing colours just to keep it interesting for the video and just show you some different colour blends as well. Okay, so there's a bit of broken china and then a bit of shaded lilac. And just do this down the bottom here, blend that up. And the beauty about these, like this kind of inking and stamping, is you could actually stamp out a whole bunch of these and then have them on hand already. And then when you want to do some sponging, and then just have a little session of sponging and just experimenting with different ink colours. And then you've got a whole stack of card bases ready to go whenever you need a nice little arty card for a friend. You can see there how that matches and lines up so you can colour those little scales nice and easily. So we've got the other ones here, the Arty pods and the Arty squares, and I'll go ahead and colour those up. Okay, so now you can see all of these different stamps and stencils and how they work together to create some really beautiful colour blends, and how it's easy to mask off with those stencils to colour up these stamps. And to make a really nice and easy card using these pieces here, you can just cut them down here and put them on to a folded white card or a black card base, and just simply put a sentiment over the top, and it creates a nice and beautiful and easy card. So I've got another little white piece of cardstock out here, and I just want to show you how the stencils look without the stamping over the top, and how you can create some really nice little backgrounds here. And I'm just going to offset this down the side here off the cardstock, and then just sponging through the stencil. I'm still using that worn lipstick colour, but again, any colours would look absolutely stunning with this stencil. So I'm not going to cover the whole stencil here. I'm just going to fade these little hearts off so you get like a little faded ending to that stenciling there. So you can see how beautiful this stencil is just on its own, just like that. You could add with love or make it into a Valentine's Day, any kind of card like that. You can also do it on your art journaling pages and create some really nice, if I grab a journal here and I'll just find a blank page in here, I'll show you how you can do some really nice sponging over the edge here to create some really nice backgrounds. Or even if the page was already coloured in some way and you went over with just some darker colours, you could also draw through this with some pens, like a paint pen or black outline pen if you wanted some outlined hearts or squares or pods or scales, any of the little shapes that we've got. So I'm just sponging down here, and there you've got a nice little border there for your art journal page. And again, if you don't want it to be just a border, you can do some hearts on the center here, off the edges, just to add a little bit of a hint over your pages. Just up there, top corner, down here, off the edge here. Oops, I'll just go up a bit so you can see what I'm doing. And like that. So you can see you can just build up your layers there in your art journal. So another idea that you can do with your collage stamps, even though they are sold as one complete unit like this, if you wanted to separate them, you could actually cut them out into individual little pieces. So this one here, this is actually the square, Arty Squares stamp that's been cut up into individual squares. And then this is the Arty Pod stamp set cut up into different pods. And I've just put it inside one of our empty storage cases, so then they're all kept together and you don't lose these little tiny ones here. And the beauty of this means that you can not just use the whole stamp as a whole. So you can then start experimenting with doing just little like extra borders along the bottom. Let's find a little blank page here in my journal and I'll show you what I mean, give you some ideas. I'll just get out the black, I'll just stamp it in black. I'll just get a smaller block. So for instance, if you wanted to create a border or just add some stamping down the edge, you wanted to create a different border to what you normally do, or even just random bits and pieces on your page. Okay, there's one there just using the squares so you can see that, and you could stamp it anywhere of course. And if you wanted to add in a couple of little guys, start building your own little design. Have that off there, have that off down the bottom. So you can see what I'm getting at. You can actually start doing some more random things. And the same thing with the pods. You might want to do some repeating here and create a whole pattern using the one pod, and just have several little bits and pieces coming off your page. So that's just another way that you can use the stamps. If you wanted to create a way of, keeping the stamp as is, and you just wanted little pieces of these, obviously you could mask off different hearts, or you could stamp the whole thing and then trim out the hearts individually. There's so many different ways, which is what makes it so versatile. I'll just find another little page here, just say for instance this page here, and you just want to do a little hint of hearts. So I'll just move that over there so you can see. So I'm actually just bending the stamp here. I'm just stamping a part of the stamp. So you can see here I'm just going to be bending the stamp and then just stamping a hint here on this background. And see how you get just a couple of hearts. Let me just add a bit more while I've got all of this out. I'll just go up the top here. I'll just press down a bit further there. So you can see there, it just gives you that really nice layer, which is just a hint of it rather than it being really dominant on your page. So again, you could just continue stamping that. I'll just put a little bit over the left as well. And that just adds a really nice little hint of the hearts on your page. So you can see how you can use this stamp as in its entirety, or in like little bits and pieces, or just stamped randomly over your art journal pages as well. So these are just a couple of ways that you can use these Arty series of collage stamps and stencils. All of these stamps and stencils are available on our website, or you can ask for them at your favourite craft retailer. Thanks so much for watching.